What up, people, and welcome to the book club with one mother, three sisters, and a whole lot of hot takes and cool insights. This is The Family Plot. I'm Angel, the host and the heart of the crew, joined by my baby sister Cam, our resident conspiracist, and our mama Lisa, the occasional voice of reason. We are joined by Glenna, my sister in law, with the insightful takes. All right, so here's how we get down. Each month, we discuss a book of our choosing. Every week, I'll share a brief summary of the chapters we've read, and then we each pick a discussion question to answer. We'll also share our first impressions, predictions, and anything else that comes up along the way. This month's selection is the first of a three-part series by Carrie Maniscalco called Kingdom of the Wicked. It's a young adult fantasy novel that follows Amelia, a strega or witch, as she seeks vengeance for the death of her twin sister Victoria. Amelia, who lives among humans, uses dark magic and summons Wrath, a prince of hell, to help her find her sister's killer. The story blends themes of vengeance, romance, and dark magic in a world where witches live in secret. If any of that interests you, go ahead and pull up a chair, pour some tea, get cozy as we get into this month's book, right here on The Family Plot, where every chapter digs deep. Okay, ladies, welcome back to week 2 of Kingdom of the Wicked. Let's get on into it. All right, so starting with chapters 13 through 18, our summary. While still mourning Victoria, Amelia becomes obsessed with uncovering the truth behind her twin's death. Despite warnings, she continues consulting forbidden sources and follows a trail of demonic clues. She gives Victoria's magically sealed diary to her friend Claudia, hoping she can uncover the spell protecting it. In the process, Amelia learns that her sister may have made a marriage pact with the demon prince Pride, who needs a witch bride to break a curse and reclaim power. Emilia confronts Wrath, who confirms parts of this story and then encounters another prince, Envy, who tries to manipulate her into joining his house. She's shaken when Claudia and her aunt reveal that the diary may be a part of La Prima's legendary spell book, believed to contain a vengeance curse that has doomed witches ever since. The wicked are hunting the book to free the devil and restore balance with a witch bride wearing the horn of Hades. Emilia's investigation leads her to a luxurious gambling den where she meets Prince Greed, yet another demon prince. He offers protection and information in exchange for her Cornicello amulet and allegiance. She refuses, but learns that her sister's amulet is being guarded by I might be saying this wrong, but Viperidae, snake-like creature beneath the cathedral. Determined, Amelia plans to retrieve it and finally get the answer she needs, even if it means facing ancient enemies and forbidden magic. So first things first, first impressions. Mother, please come on off mute and give your first impressions.
Of which part? Because really,
However the Lord gives it to you, just
this little heifer. Excuse. Ooh, sorry.
no, you're not. You're not.
This is what happens when you get teenagers who go too long without being unchecked. Because let's be real, Grandma knows she up to no good. She should have snatched her dang coattail when she had the chance. But now the sister done got in good and deep. And she just is reckless. Because why are you out here tempting all these people? You know they demonic. You cutting deals with the devil. I'm gonna yield because I might say some things that ain't holy. Let me go ahead and go.
Thank you for your thoughts, Mother. Glinda, first impressions, please.
Your mom's not wrong. The girl needs therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Bad. She is so far so far over her head, it's unreal. And she's not making logical choices because I don't think she has the capacity for logical thinking anymore. But yeah. As I said to you the other day on the phone, is she an idiot? That's where I'm at. And
Yeah.
I yield.
Pam, your thoughts?
There's a lot of brothers for one period in time. It was just a lot.
Mhm.
I yield.
Agreed. I mean, I'm assuming, yeah, there are 7 brothers, and she's met wrath, envy, and greed all in the span of this 6 little chapters. Yeah, there's a lot going on. She ain't listening to nobody. She's just very grief heavy, driving a lot of dumb decisions. It's just not looking good at all. You can just unleashing curses left and right. Just it's a mess. It's a whole mess. Let's get on into the questions. All right, mother, you have your pick. The Allure of Power, Sisterhood and Survivor's Guilt, The Diary is the Key Symbol, Secrets of the Past, Vengeance versus Justice, or Moral Complexity of Demon Princess. Take your pick.
Oh, all good ones. I like the glasses on better. Okay. Let's go to Secrets of the Past.
Secrets of the Past.
Yeah.
All right.
That's by La Prima.
I got you. The curse cast by La Prima and Victoria's secret pact with Pride suggests that ancient history is repeating itself. How does the novel explore the theme of ancestral legacy and the burdens passed down through bloodlines?
Well, this is completely wrapped up in it. In its essence, they are going about, well, we all know La Prima is the one that did the curse. And Victoria's pact with Pride suggests, in terms of it suggesting history is repeating itself. Well, yeah, that's the reason we're in this situation to begin with. Now, whether or not Victoria truly understood all the ramifications of joining this pack, or even why she would decide to do that, knowing this is a part of the history, no one knows. But if we're talking about ancestral legacy and burdens passed down through bloodlines, well, we all know there's tons of things get passed down through the blood, diseases, everything, behaviors, all kinds, physical characteristics, all of that can be passed down through your bloodline. In this particular case, I think what twinges me is that she's had a history of being taught all of this information to keep her safe throughout, based on what's going on in her bloodline. And it seemed like because it skipped a generation, well, the magic skipped a generation with her mother and got picked up with her and her twin sister. But Nona, who's very well versed in what's going on in their family bloodline, was not very open with what's truly going on with them. And as a child, I understand you don't give children adult information. But as they became teenagers and could handle more, she should have revealed more. And that's part of why you have so many families torn over stuff that's in their bloodline, and that is because things have been hidden and not brought to the forefront. Had they known what they were truly dealing with, I don't think Victoria would have been so open about going out there and researching all the stuff, because she's the enthusiast that likes to go and seek out her own path. And by Nona not giving her this information and she's stumbling upon bits and pieces, I really think that's what opened up her eyes and wanted her to see more. That's what made her curious. That's why she went down here and made this pact with Pride. And I don't truly think Victoria understood just what that truly meant. I think she was curious, and it was her curiosity that could have been resolved had Nona gave her information up front. Now we see down the line in these chapters there's some little nuggets of clues, but still this could have been eliminated had her ancestors been upfront with what's really going on, because Granny know, and she's been shielding them, and at this point they're teenagers are just as knowledgeable as adults in most cases. She should not have shielded them this long. She should have been upfront with them about what was going on and why it was so important for them to learn all of those things. Because kids seem like, well, it's just grandma, she making us do this. No, there's purpose behind everything. And when you explain things to kids, they have a better understanding. They make more informed decisions. And right now, Victoria wasn't making informed decisions, and she got herself killed because of it. And that could be what happened with La Prima, someone in the bloodline, which is why this is going on. But what gets me is the Carlo Grimore, the notes that's giving you the information. So who ain't paying it? So why are we not paying attention? It clearly says the Prince of Hell is the most dangerous of the demons. Why are you dealing with the dangerousness? That ain't even a word. But why are you dealing with it if you know it's the most dangerous? You've been prepping and planning for it your whole life to be protected from it, and you walking right in there. It's like you figured out that fire is hot, and now you just want to walk in there with no fire protection on. What is wrong?
Fire.
Bum, bum, bum. So, okay, sorry, that's taking me somewhere else. Okay, with that, I just really believe that.
I'll be right back.
Okay, this novel, ladies, truly, it exploits the fact that burdens and secrets in families carries over and over from generation to generation. And if people do not start opening up and being upfront about what's going on in the bloodline, in the family's histories, history will repeat itself. And this is what we've come to right now. History will continue to repeat itself if we don't be upfront with our children. And with that, I yield. So otherwise, did everybody have a good day today? Sorry, Cam. Well, mine was decent. We're going to pray you get a better day. I don't know what you said, but we're going to pray it's a better day. I just read the whole face. Glad you had a good day, Glenna.
Try not to yell at my dog because he keeps licking my books.
Sorry.
Sorry about that, y'all.
I had a decent day.
Yes.
Productive.
All right, Miss Angelita, I yield.
Okay.
In essence, I just said if history is going to continue to repeat itself if the elders will not be upfront with the children and be open about what's going on in the bloodline and within the family. We will continue to see this pattern that it is necessary to be open and transparent so that we won't keep making the same mistakes and we won't keep having the same thing. It's just like with the history of the world. It's the same stuff. So yeah, if families are not going to be open about what's going on in their bloodline and within the family's history, the children will continue to repeat these same mistakes.
I could not agree more. Though those are some really hard-hitting insights, Mother, especially in today's day and age, especially when you consider church culture, especially when you consider, family secrets in general about whose daddy is whose daddy and
Oh,
all.
Shana, ha, ya, 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 hana.
When we talking paternity secrets, we talking magical secrets, we talking just secrets in general. And I agree with what you said earlier. There's a difference between being discerning about what to share with a child when they're too young, but as they mature and as they grow older, parents got to be a little bit more forthcoming. Otherwise, you give folks summoning demons knowingly and unknowingly. And then history repeating itself all over again. Yes, wonderful insights, Mother. Thank you for that. Glenna, pick your poison, ma'am.
Vengeance and justice.
All right, vengeance and justice. Emilia is warned repeatedly to stop pursuing vengeance, yet she continues deeper into the dark realm of magic and demons. At what point does her mission become more about revenge than justice? And do you believe she's making the right choices?
At this point, I don't think her mission has ever been about justice. I think from the moment she saw her sister, she wanted to eviscerate the person who attacked her. It's always been about revenge. She keeps trying to justify her to herself that it's about justice. But her actions speak only of revenge. And while the path that she's on might get her to the answers she needs, and as we have kind of learned, there are witches being killed, so her safety kind of has an effect on this. I don't necessarily think she's making the safest choices. She could have gone, let's put it this way. The communication is a two-way street. Yes, her Nona should have educated her on everything she needed to know, so she was going in fully informed, but in the same breath, when she first walked into this, she should have gone to her grandmother who has more knowledge and went, this is what I found, this is what I've observed, this is what happened in the room at the monastery, this is what is seeing, this is what I've encountered. She didn't even say anything about the voices she's hearing. She didn't say anything about, about meeting Wrath, even though at the time she didn't know that's who that was. But she hasn't been open about any of it on her end either.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
She has a resource in her home who, while she's been withholding the information, might have been compelled to give that information when the threat is at their door. Now I agree that Nona should have given them that information ages ago, but I don't think she's maliciously holding on to it. I think when we finally find out what she's holding on to, I think it's going to be devastating to Emilia, about what secrets her Nona has, and it's going to change her opinion of her Nona or the ancestor that did whatever they did. But all of this is just making it compounded that she's not thinking clearly. She's only thinking about revenge, and she's not wanting them. She's wanting to destroy whoever killed her sister. She's not wanting them to just be seen to get justice. Like in our world, not seeing somebody just go to jail or wanting to kill them kind of situation. And that's kind of where she's at. And that's not justice. That's pure vengeance. And that's where I'm at. And I yield.
You're absolutely correct. She was not forthcoming with her Nona I actually understand why though, because I get the impression that her Nona is not only, part of the village that raised them, but more of a disciplinarian than their mom is. And therefore, I think that might have caused some hesitation on her part to be forthcoming with Nona about like, hey, I just summoned this demon and I've been hearing voices. Like immediately it probably would have been a did not tell you to not go over there. Like that's my first impression just based on the prologue and not this I don't want to say fear, but whenever they speak about how Nona is likely to react, it's usually based in oh, here we go, something like that, right? But I agree, if she would have been forthcoming, like, hey, this is a very real threat and it's here, who knows? She might have just threw all that secrecy out the window and been like, okay, let me help you. Yeah.
And we'll never know at this point because we're past the point of no return.
Yeah. It's so sad. So sad. All right, Cammers. What will it be?
Moral complexity and demon princes.
Moral complexity of the demon princess. Moral complexity of the demon princess. All right. Each demon Amelia encounters, wrath, envy, and greed, offer her deals, protection, or knowledge, but always at a cost. How does the story challenge traditional ideas of good versus evil? And do these demons seem truly wicked, or are they just playing their roles in a complex power game?
I mean, it's not really challenging the traditional ideas of good and evil. It's made them evil, plain and simple, because they're demons. But I mean, they seem wicked because they are, but in their being wicked, they are playing into the power game because they're the demon princes who are the strongest demons. So there's gonna be power there. They're just trying to see what they can leverage and who's smart enough to outsmart them or dumb enough to go along with it. And I guess they're now figuring because Victoria's gone, they just need the other piece that her twin has. So she's gonna be dumb enough to do it because she wants vengeance for her twin. So yes and yes. And I use it.
Okay. Thank you for that, Cammers. I will choose the diary as a key symbol. All right, it says Victoria's diary is more than a journal. It's magically sealed, bound in spell pages, and possibly holds the key to major supernatural events. How does the diary function symbolically in this story? First and foremost, I feel like it's one of the driving clues among many others driving the story in the mystery of Victoria's death. It's a very key component on what she was doing, how she died, what she's really into, and the secrecy surrounding that. I think symbolically ties into the secrecy between Nona about what the actual curse was from La Prima, among other secrets. So just being a book holding all of this information, I think is just, again, a symbol regarding secrets and just information in general, the power that information beholds in any world, on this earthly realm or in the demon realm. What does it represent to Amelia and to demons? Pretty much what I just said, just power. Information is power. Knowledge is power. The application of knowledge is power. And whether it's Victoria's diary or the main first spell book from La Prima, ultimately the power that will come from wielding such a weapon in that book and the spells that are contained in it are ultimately going to be the power of whoever holds it. So that's that on that. And with that, I yield. Any final thoughts on these few chapters, ladies? Feel free to come
Yes.
on. Yes.
How? Victoria says something in this diary. How did they get the horns? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, Granny, why the kids got these horns? Where they come from? And who in the family was the recipient of the horns of hell, of the demon's horns, and y'all just passing stuff down from generation to generation? Because they had these things on their neck since they was little.
Very true. That's a good question.
My other thing was around here on page, because I was going to dig out my page. That's why I put my glasses on. Outside of her hearing the magical objects and the voices, 141 in her little notes where she found it. I know it gonna come up in a minute. We're gonna figure out what the it is, but whatever it is a clue, because she says, I found these buried deep within the earth. I managed to understand one line before it descended into chaos. So, but she never gives insight on what the it was. Was it an amulet? Was it a piece of paper? Was it something with some scripted writing on it? She never said, but the voices drew her to it in the sand.
Say.
Yeah, so I told you that thing was tweaking me.
Well, hold on now. Hold on. What? Because, okay, what do you think it is?
That's what I don't know. It made me think of Lord of the Rings, where the writing was on the inside of the ring.
I kind of got the impression from the context around the page or two before that it was the original grimoire. So where she got, because she was thinking about and discussing the sheets that were with her, the grimoire sheets that were with her, her diary. And then as she's reading the diary, she thinks of the sheets as she finds this passage, if memory serves. So I automatically assumed it was the original grimoire.
Okay, I could see that.
So so
could be wrong.
It might be a page and then the words disappeared off the page.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. I can go with that.
Possible, because a grimoire is usually filled with different mythical creatures and the languages that they originally speak in.
Right.
Wait. Okay, so I wasn't aware of this. I was under the impression that a grimoire was like a recipe book. So is it a living, breathing object?
It's a recipe book on how to summon creatures.
Well, then that would make sense why there's voices and things talking to the whispers.
That is connected to it.
Okay.
So like the book in Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
Oh, got you. Okay, great.
Okay.
I mean, it can contain other things, but its primary source is to contain summoning things or rituals of some kind.
Okay.
It's a ritual book, essentially.
Well, shoot, I like your theory then that's what she found. That makes a lot of sense to me rereading these notes now.
Yeah, because it says, I found that they're buried deep within the earth. I managed to understand one line before it descended into chaos. So I'm like, okay, what chaos?
Another thing about grimoires in general is that they sometimes, depending on the creation or the magic system that we're working with, can be spelled only be seen by certain people. So take, for instance, a family grimoire could be only seen by people who are family by blood or brought into the family by ritual. So that sometimes is thing. So it might just be that her sister could see that there was writing, but she couldn't perceive the whole thing at the time because she didn't have full access to it. And at some point, since she had pages from something similar, she might have gained access to it later.
Then that makes sense. Noticing her second note, because she said, I didn't plan on listening to it again, thinking that the grimoires where these voices are coming from. I'd already decided to hide it far from where they could ever find it. Then it whispered something that sounded a lot like nonsense, but my blood prickled. So whatever it's telling you, it had made your blood boil. And then the horn of hate, and that's when she says the horn of Hades is a key to locking the gates of hell. But according to it, what it really is two somethings. And that's when she said they're the devil's horns, cut off by his own hand. That doesn't make sense to me either. Why would he cut his own horns out? But that's a different book.
These are questions that need answers. How they get the horns?
That's why I said how'd they get the horns, because if he didn't cut his horns off, and that's when she held her concello, feeling the truth in the horn and whispers. The root of my power, Amelia's and I, for reasons I am unaware of, been wearing the devil's horns our whole lives. So if that's true, how did they get to find their way to us? So again, that's where I am. So something, it's a lot going on right there. That's all I'm saying.
It is a lot going on. And rereading these notes, I'm like, yeah, I see why Victoria was scratching her head in the sand, like, what's happening? But no, like, I'm glad y'all explained to me just now how grimoires work, because now I'm thinking back to the movie Wicked, when Elphaba was reading the incantations that caused the monkeys to grow wings and stuff like that, and how she was the only one who could read it. So I'm wondering if there's a similarity in how that worked versus how like the Carlo grimoire works, or how La Prima's grimoire works, something like that. So appreciate that clarification, y'all.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Any
With
other
that idea, yeah.
Any other thoughts before we move on? No, y'all good? Okay.
I'm sorry, I had dipped off. That's in 19. I'm sorry, I had dipped off in 19. I'm sorry.
Oh, sure is. Oh, well.
Well, that's the prelude to the 19. Sorry.
Prelude to 19. There we go. Hang on. I think I did something. Peter! I'm sorry, y'all. You're
Somebody
done?
walking by the house.
Yes. It's not even like, it's probably like a mailman or something. Just pray for him. Okay. Moving forward to the second half, chapters 19 through 24. So, summary. Amelia unlocks Victoria's diary by sacrificing a drop of her own blood, discovering her sister's chilling realization their cornicellos are actually the horns of Hades, capable of unlocking the gates of hell. Confronting her Nona, Amelia learns their family are star witches, guardians of the balance between realms, not shadow witches as the demons believe them to be. But before they can delve deeper, an invisible Umbra demon slits Nona's throat and steals Amelia's amulet. Still determined, Amelia seeks Wrath's help. Though initially cold, he warms literally and emotionally after eating a cannoli. She successfully retrieves Victoria's cornicello from a Viperidae, but is poisoned in the process. Wrath saves her with a powerful healing ritual that creates an emotional bond between them, even allowing her to see his memories. Conflicted yet grateful, Amelia resolves to find her sister's killer with Wrath at her side. As the investigation intensifies, they revisit the monastery where Victoria was murdered. Amelia confronts Wrath with her suspicions, accusing him of deception and even the murder itself. Tensions rise, but they're interrupted by Brother Antonio, whose jealousy over Wrath and his interactions with Amelia raises more questions than answers. Wrath reveals Pride is sending a message to the next witch he intends to propose to. Though Amelia is furious, Wrath insists he won't force the witch, he's only speaking with her. Their fragile alliance continues, but trust between them is still uncertain. All right, ladies. First impressions. Mother, come forth.
Well, let's know, since I already gave the prelude to 19. The fact that I don't understand why she had to take her amulet off in the beginning just to question on her about it. When you already know, you didn't already have firsthand knowledge that your sister done gave hers up. So, or hers is being protected by some demon somewhere. So that would make you that much more skeptical about being loose with this amulet. Because let's call it what it is. You done got somebody ask you for it. They trying to get it up off you. They got it up off your sister. So why are you just laying your stuff down willy-nilly? You supposed to be protecting this with all that. Because let's call it what it is. Y'all didn't get your powers till you put the things together, which y'all was told not to do. So we talk hard head cheering. Okay, hard head cheering. But anyway, because you're hard headed, that's what got your Nana's throat cut. Because you already know demons in the city. You dealing with one. You done met up with two. Come on. I just need the common sense to kick in. That's all I'm gonna say.
The girl ain't thinking. We already established she ain't thinking.
Baby, I just need, when Nona said that, I just needed Nona to say, come clean. I ain't gonna tell you nothing until you tell me why you know and why you questioning me and where this come from. Come clean. Little Skippy. Tell yourself, tell what you know. How you gonna come ask me about this?
But the problem is she out here lying to the children. You can't just be out here withholding information.
Grown folk can say, what? I don't know where you come from or where you been out here with all this, because she already told her, you need to stop with all this foolery, looking up trouble. Where this come from? There's a doorway right there. She could have just walked through it and say, nah, because she told me something, is this? Girl, number one, don't you come at me with attitude. That's
okay.
Just
how does one respectfully call out their elders on their BS? I'm just curious.
Excuse me, Granny. I got questions.
When do that work?
Please tell me.
It doesn't.
It didn't work for y'all, grandmama, but it worked for me because I used to get all the tea when I ate.
Your grandma was receptive. Ours was not.
Hello.
Okay, well, but then, because Granny talked to me. Like I said, it's the people that don't be talking to the kids that messes up stuff. That's why I told you.
Non-communicative.
That's right. I'm like a broke refrigerator. I ain't keeping nothing. I'm tell it all. Anyway, so yeah, I'm anyway, so my first impression of this, number one, I get her frustration in wanting to know. I'm not knocking that. Her approach was a little off, but then she, like you said, she ain't thinking, and that's unfortunate for her at this juncture, because not only is she putting herself in danger, she putting the people closest to her at danger. And if your true goal is to get revenge for your sister, you dealing with the devil and the devil's brothers and his children and all of these people in the underworld. Some point you got to wake up and recognize that your dealings with these people who Nana was telling y'all wasn't on earth, but now you know they are. The fact that you're dealing with them puts them in just as much jeopardy as it is you, because she didn't have those feelings before in dealing with both the other brothers, that she's got to be careful. But the fact that you're hearing voices when you walking down the street in the monastery, come on now. You may not be thinking clearly about yourself, but you got to know these people are on ground now. They killing the witches. So you bringing the stuff home every night. And they got to be following you because the voices are following you. And she's not thinking clearly. And this is putting the family even in more in danger. And we see that just now by how Nana got a throat slit. So I really, really, really was hoping in these chapters that she would wake up. I will give her credit though, because the sister is cunning in her dealings with the brothers, but she is on very shaky, very thin ground. And I'm getting afraid for her. I know she's the heroine in this story, but I'm getting afraid that she may make a mistake that may cost her someone really close to her, or may cost her some harm moving forward. That's where I am, and with that, I yield.
Wonderful, wonderful insights, Mother. I got some stuff to add to that, but I'll wait. Glenna, first impressions, please.
Well, as you know, this was my phone call to Is She an Idiot? But yeah. For the most part, she's making snap decisions without thinking. And while I agree that she has every right to question her Nona for withholding information, she could have handled that maybe a little better. And I also agree with she's been told not to take it off. There's reasons not to take off the necklace. She shouldn't have, and that was her own fault. But she was also in her own home and assumed that she was safe in her own home because the protections her Nona has been putting up apparently don't work. So that's something. I do think she handled herself well with the brothers, considering her situation, and she's not thinking as clearly as she could. But yeah, overall, it was an interesting section. I still think she's an idiot at the moment. But I don't know what it's going to take for her to start thinking clearly. And my fear is that she's going to, like, kind of what you just said, that, she's going to reach a point at which she's either going to lose somebody important to her or get herself in a situation that she can't get out of because she'll be bound to it in one way or another. And I think it's going to come out of nowhere and she's not going to be prepared for it. So, and with that, I yield.
Always come in with the insights, Glenna. Thank you for that. Cam, first impressions.
Nona got what she deserved. You had one granddaughter that didn't listen to you. Then when she got killed, the other one went on the warpath and you decided not to give her vital information. If you don't want to talk, let's just permanently shut you up.
Well, they was working on that.
Well, clutching the pearls.
And then whatever that was that killed her said that she wasn't innocent. So clearly she knows some stuff that her grandkids probably needed to know. Because ain't nobody coming in here to kill you in invisible form for no reason.
I did remember. I'm glad you said that.
I was going to bring that up too. Thank you for that.
Very fair.
Yeah. So she got what she deserved. And I yield.
Okay, so my impressions of these chapters, Nona's almost unaliving aside, these were some hilarious chapters. First of all, Raph eating a cannoli about took me out because he was so uppity about I will not defile my body with, and then
That's my favorite line. On page 151.
was that where it was? Read
Oh
it to
yes,
me.
where she was mocking him. I do not wish to taint my body with the foolishness of human food. She said, I might, but desserts are acceptable.
Clearly, because baby, he was tearing that cannoli up.
Baby, I had to put a smile, I had to put a laughing face in my book because I was like, that's the yeah.
Child, I cackled at that. Also, I really enjoy how the author describes the food in this novel and how it's being prepared. I think Glenda, you mentioned that last week, and the way they have been talking about the food, like I personally was on the page like, shoot, I wonder what that cannoli tastes like if Wrath is out here, you know,
Mhm.
nibble. I mean, cannolis aren't my fave, but I could go if a demon of hell can, you know, give an approval. Go ahead, Glenna.
Can I get a cookbook that goes with the book?
You don't think you've bought enough books already this month? You know what? You grown. You got grown up money. Live your life.
Could be worse.
It could be way worse. Yeah, live your life. Also, I thought it was hilarious how Brother Antonio felt away walking up in there seeing Wrath and Amelia together, especially when Wrath has said my Amelia. So Antonio got a little stressed up in his chest and was like, I thought that was hilarious. Because up till now, like all we've known about them emotionally is that Amelia got a crush on him, but not necessarily that he felt the same. So I thought that was kind of cute.
I was a little suspect of him up until I found out why he went to her dad.
Hang on, we're gonna get there. But I thought it was interesting how there's a type of witch, like there's star witches and there's shadow witches. I'm glad that it was clarified what's what, but the way Nona explained it, I don't think I trust it. I feel like Nona's lying. You know, and it's real easy to do when you have this, oh, they're bad narrative. It's easy to discredit whatever the wicked may say about witches in this part of Italy or even in this village and just make up your own. And I also feel like in her lying, that might be what brought forth the invisible throat slitter, talking about, well, you ain't innocent. Now, I don't know what she's lying about exactly, but I don't feel like her conversation about star witches versus shadow witches was placed here on accident. I just don't know why yet. Also, first impressions, I thought it was pretty heartbreaking and disillusioning to find out that all these protections you've been doing for all these years are not working. The demons are still coming, babe. And it made my heart kind of hurt for her because she never really like believed for real anyway. But she kind of had it in the back of her mind to still do the things as part of like ritual. So then when you find that even your ritualistic things have no bearing on your safety, it's like I said, it's very disillusioning and kind of heartbreaking. I did enjoy how she navigated conversations with the other princess, because in all her dumb actions, these was the only time she actually exercised some common sense, didn't reveal all her cards at once. I couldn't fully get behind her though, because I feel like you shouldn't have been in these situations in the first place, but I do enjoy watching her navigate this. So it's like, I give credit where it's due, but don't do that no more. That's where I'm at. And with that, I yield. Okay, so discussion topics. We have The line between love and manipulation, heritage and identity, vengeance, obsession, or justice, gender and power and demon bargains, trusting the enemy, and foreshadowing and misdirection. Mother, come forth and pick your choice.
Good ones, good ones, good ones, good ones.
I tried.
Oh, I also meant to mention that the tattoo transformation is going on. Like, and I didn't go into detail with them, but something makes me want to go back to see and to correlate whenever something happens and their tattoos transfer. I think something in them, the symbols of what changes on them is somewhat relevant to what's going on, but I haven't quite put all that together yet. You notice how the tattoos change. And then the other thing I found that was truly, truly interesting was when she got hurt and the remedy revolved. Even though he told her, if you do that, I ain't coming in there to save you. And he turned around and came in there and saved her.
But isn't that part of the protection curse?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it was so hilarious, because he was like, I ain't coming to get you. If you do that, you on your own. But he down there, and then
you there,
and you even got to go further to save her life by putting her in the water and getting his skin close. Not girl, that. Let me see. Discussion topic. I'm just saying that was a hot and bother right there.
Oh, hang on before you do. I just realized from my notes from last week, I thought that the cornicello was the horn of Hades. I was right. I just didn't know that it was two of them, like two horns of Hades. So
right.
Yeah. Yay. Being right.
Yay. What's right?
But no, go ahead.
Okay. So let's go with the line between love and manipulation.
The line between love and manipulation. All right. Wrath uses a powerful ritual to heal Amelia that also binds them in a deeply personal way, allowing her to access his memories. Do you believe this was an act of compassion, strategy, or both? And what do you make of this increasingly intimate dynamic between them?
Okay, so I'm just talking about that. So here, a lot going on right here. For me, I really believed if he could have done this without letting her into his mind, he would have. He connected because of the bond and the that he had to, because he's bound to protect her. But the fact that he made sure he reached down and to do that old ritual that connects them, because he said initially he didn't require her to take the blood oath. He wanted her to, but he wasn't requiring it. But I'm going to be honest with you. In this, I feel like he has been manipulative in his dealings, in that he's only, like his brothers, only giving her a tidbit of information as needed to accomplish his task of being unbonded to her and not having to protect her anymore. But because he made the pact that I'm going to look toward saving people, not, killing them at this point to help her, he's compassionate about her need to complete her task. And I really feel like somewhere deep down in there, he got little feelings for a girl. He ain't telling her that. And he throwing her off because she was already feeling something. She had to catch herself and be like, "Ooh, don't look at him. Jesus, don't look. Put a shirt on. Put a shirt on."
She has been telling him to put a shirt on for half the book.
For half the book. And he's like, what? Do I bother you? She was like, no, but put a shirt on because you're gonna bring attention to yourself. So, like I said, she's been very cunning in her dealings because she's telling him, I don't draw no more attention to yourself. Cover yourself. But in essence, she need him to cover herself because she distracted as hell when she see that body. Because the first thing she said is, one of the earlier things she said in the book was she didn't say that they look good. She said, I was thinking they was, had ragged teeth, was dripping ooze and gook out of their face and all this other stuff. She didn't say they was gonna be heavenly bodies and just classic and regal looking.
And he's got some serious charisma because he sure be talking that smack up in her.
Yeah. So I don't think initially it was for the strategy for a specific strategy, but because he had to do that in order to save her life, he's going to utilize that in strategizing to accomplish his goal. I believe he's going to accomplish he's going to look to try to accomplish his goal, whether he's successful in it or not. Hopefully the compassion will overtake him, but you never know. Now, in terms of what do I make of the increasingly intimate dynamic between them? They draws is hot. They draws is hot.
They hot in the pants. Okay.
Baby, they will be down in hell with gasoline draws on if you let them. That's how hot they is. And I'm just putting it out there. With that, I yield.
I saw a hand up. Oh, Glenna, you had a question?
Yeah, not so much a question, just an observation about the book. Despite the fact that he is clearly trying to manipulate her in order to get what he needs to get accomplished, whatever that task may be, anytime he goes to physically touch her or anything in any capacity, he waits for explicit consent. And I do have to appreciate that. It's practically Victorian in the way he yields for consent.
But that's what makes me believe
anything.
Yeah, that's why I believe he got the hots for her, because anybody else, he'd be like, look, I had to do it. I got to protect you. That's part of my protection. You said you didn't bound me to this spell, because he could easily throw that up. But the fact that he respects her enough to ask lets me know, number one, you respect her. And I really believe because he respects her, he's starting to feel another type of compassion for her, not just the compassion of her trying to get to the bottom of her sister's situation, but that he's starting to have some feelings for her. But I still think it's some manipulation back there now, because in the end, he's still gonna try to get done what he's trying to get done. Yes, Angelita.
Another level.
Okay.
Of compassion. Now, I wonder if, because at what point, okay, I got two questions. At what point do we think this sheer annoyance at her presence and for summoning him in the first place, at what point did that compassion enter the room is what I wonder. And also, is it actually compassion, or is it part of his demon makeup that, there's a lot of rules here surrounding his presence in this earthly realm and what may or may not cause him pain if he doesn't follow a spell in a certain way. He was very clear about having to know exactly what words she used to summon him. So I wonder if that lack of compassion would end up in negative consequences for him and therefore produce a disingenuous kind of compassion, or is it really like he actually feeling something for her? And if so, when that happened?
Well, I think, me personally, his guard started to come down when he saw that she was thinking more of him. Well, because she's strategizing herself. She's strategizing her ass off. I'm going to put it out there. Because why in the hell you bringing him cannolis other than to get information? She was trying to bring down his wall, and she did.
They say the way to a man's heart is through the tummy. I just didn't know it applied to demons as well.
So she, in turn, was doing her own strategy. Now, we all know he, like you said, he is compelled to do whatever it is he got to do. He got to strategize his butt off to get the ultimate goal accomplished. Even if he has to put it on hold, which he took an oath to do to help her accomplish her goal. But like, I believe somewhere in there, when she brought his wall down, or when she started to bring it down with the cannolis, and just even in her tone, if you paid attention to how she was speaking to him at first versus how she started to communicate with him after she spoke with his brothers, her whole tone has changed toward him in their conversation. If you look at it, she didn't get up in arms until it came down to finding out about this snake holding on to her sister's amulet, and she going down here, and that's when he got emotionally charged, which to me was the first sign of, well, number one, you crazy as hell, because why would you go in there and deal with this snake? And so he's concerned because he's required to protect her, but he knows how, and he's like, why would you do that? That's too dangerous. You know, not that I don't believe him being the prince of hell would be bothered by this snake, but he knows she is a human would, and he's concerned for her safety. I could be wrong, but the fact that he, you know, because to me, if she was to die, wouldn't he be broken from the curse anyway? If he wasn't able to protect her?
Good point. I see a hand raised. Cam, what's up?
I think he's scared of it too.
He might be. Okay.
I think he is, because I think, well, yes, he has a regard for her safety because they're bonded at this point. But I don't think he would be giving her such a deep, detailed heed warning if it wasn't something behind it.
Okay. I'll take that. I will take that. I just was wondering that, I mean, and to me, because he was so emotional about it, I felt like this was more than just because I have to protect you. That's where, you know, his wall had already started to come down, but the fact that he was so aggressive in terms of, don't need to do this. This is not, no, this is crazy. You know, you could die, da, 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 da. I was feeling like he was coming from a place of, I'm really concerned about you. And that would only happen if you starting to feel something toward her. But again, like I said, I know he has a commitment to protect her. And like you say, Cam, he could be scared of the thing himself, which is why he said, I ain't coming to get you. But when she came,
cannolis.
He do want some more cannolis because he realized he liked that thing.
Them black cannolis.
Right. He likes them. But again, you know, he could figure out how to get another cannoli. He can't figure out how to get another her.
Okay,
So,
question.
Yeah.
Did anybody else feel confused about the necessity of them being naked in the tub?
At first I did.
Okay.
I did. Now the full nakedness, I didn't understand. Because it made it sound like he had on nothing, not even the loincloth. So I understand the body heat issue. Because he said the venom from the snake freezes your inside, and the only thing that would cure it other than the hot water would be would be the body heat and the hot water. And I think now to me, that may have been that to me, that was another sign of compassion, because he's gonna get in here and he's gonna hold on to you to make sure he feels you transform. And that's why he told the guard at the door, don't let nobody in here. Because he knew he was gonna do that. He knew he was gonna be that intimately close with her, because that venom freezes you from the inside out. And that's when he put her in that hot water, and he was gonna hold on to her till he made sure she was coming to. And if you notice, once she came to, Okay, he's that's when he said we're gonna have this conversation in the water. And that's when he got out. Because at this point he said, okay, you saved, let me get up out this water.
Okay. Thank you for that.
I just didn't expect him not to have no drawers on. I ain't gonna lie. And I ain't sure that he did, but I don't think he did. Yes, I do.
All right. Thank you for those insights, mother. Glenna, pick your poison, ma'am.
Gender and power and demon bargains.
Gender and power and demon bargains. Oh, gender, power and demon bargains. All right. The demon princes all seek powerful witch brides to break a curse. What does this say about the gender dynamics at play in their world? And how do these bargains reflect issues of autonomy, coercion, and consent?
Okay. As far as the gender dynamics at play in the world, people who want power seek power. And so I wouldn't expect, okay. Please don't judge for how I word this.
It's a safe space.
With power dynamics in play, especially ones that can be done with manipulation and coercion, people in positions of power who like to manipulate to maintain power take greater pleasure of breaking the will of someone who is strong than simply abiding by a weak they can simply tow around. So you take a strong-willed witch, and in the manipulation game, the tearing down of her is part of the game. So the more you can control, the more powerful the witch you have control of inflates and increases their own power.
That's good. That's good stuff. Yes.
So is that why
As-
Greed just wanted to collect her?
Yeah, because she's a trophy. At this point with her power level, and I think she's far more, I think she contains within her far greater power than even she knows. And I think that Wrath recognizes that in her and wants to protect that because he knows what his brothers would do with that power.
Mm.
So he's trying to shield whatever the outcome of their manipulations of her would be, but that's to his own benefit too. The bad part about bargains is almost every one of them, with the exception of his for the most part, is a level of subjugation if she were to give herself to them. With pride, what was it, envy, he basically wanted to make her a treasured doll. With greed, he wanted to collect her. The inference, even though it's not directly stated, would be that she would have no say in her treatment. She would have no say in, they're promising flowery, you will be, protected. But what exactly do they mean by protection? Is she going to be put into a room and left there? Is she going to be chained to the side of a throne where she's just the little, trinket to be shown off to those who come to court? It doesn't, there's no parameters. So there's nowhere near is this truly informed consent if she were to consent to any of these bargains. The only one out of the demons who has been more upfront than others, because he's still withholding a lot of information, is Wrath. It's if you go into this blood bargain with me, then I will have to protect you. We are bound forever, but I have to be the one to make sure you're always safe and don't come to harm. And if you're injured, I come to your defense. He's actually given her more information about what the bargain would entail. Not all of it. Again, lying by omission is still lying. He's still withholding information, but he's been the most upfront. The others are giving information with flowery words and gestures and intrigue in the act of coercion. But the consent is dubious at best because there is no way at this time with any of them that she can make a truly informed consensual agreement to any bargain. But that doesn't matter because a bargain consented to is a bargain consented to, even if it's done blindly. So I don't think it's so much about gender dynamics as it is power and submission dynamics.
Ooh.
Yes, I yield.
Okay, so you brought up something that reminds me. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Trevor Noah from The Daily Show. His autobiography was basically just the story of how he grew up in South Africa, and it was dedicated to his mom. He described his mom as a very headstrong woman. Apparently, in their village, it was not normal for women to be headstrong. They were very, meek and pliable and all that jazz. But his stepfather, instead of going for one of the traditionally meek and quiet, pliable women, decided to go after her headstrong ass. And he, in this autobiography, he says a quote that really just kind of stuck with me to this day. It said, he's like an exotic bird collector. He only wants a woman who is free because his dream is to put her in a cage. Child, Glenna, when you said they wanted her as a trophy, they want to just, have her as like a little doll. It ain't even you that they want. It's to be able to say that I have conquered you and your power as a witch. I just, it's good stuff. It's terrible stuff, but it's good to reflect on because it makes me wonder how many instances, whether in our jobs or in our family dynamics or in any other facet of life, are similar dynamics at play. Food for thought. But yeah. Thank you for those insights, Glenna. Hammers. Pick your poison, babe.
Heritage and identity.
Heritage and identity. Oh. The revelation that Amelia's family are star witches, not shadow witches, shifts the story's understanding of their legacy. How does this impact Amelia's sense of self? And how does the theme of ancestral legacy shape her choices?
I think there's just something else that Nona lied about.
Okay, it ain't just me. Okay, great.
No.
But since we don't know it to be a lie just yet, let's just.
But do we? Because Wrath most definitely told her somewhere in them last 2 chapters when she asks, "What's a shadow witch?" and "Why do your brothers think I am one?" He gave the definition of what it is, and she was like, "But Nona told us we were this." And he said, "Well," because she was getting a revelation as to why he was tasting Victoria's blood.
Mm-hmm.
And he told her, y'all have more power in their blood than normal witches because some demon somewhere far back got with one of the witches and had an offspring. So she is born of shadow witches. So do we not know?
I only question because at this point, I'm actually really glad she asked both Nona and Wrath the same question. But now I'm more unclear about who's telling the truth.
I would think it's wrath because he can't lie to her. He can omit truth, but he can't full out lie. And she looked for the lie in his face, didn't find one, and Nona been lying since the book started. So
Plus, he was real upfront with the fact that she was like, "How's that possible?" He was like, "Do you not know how kids are made?"
So everybody getting with everybody down the line and then just having all these offspring.
Generational secrets.
but then it makes sense to me why whatever the hell that was came after Nona and
Right.
told her
She
wasn't innocent
wasn't innocent.
because she been lying the whole time.
It makes you wonder if Nona was one of the ones that got with the demon.
If
And
that's
maybe
that would be why Mama didn't have no powers.
and that could be why, yeah, that's what I was thinking. That could be why Mom didn't initially get the powers, but because it was in the bloodline, it went through her blood to her offspring, which is why the twins have it. And they're looking for the heir.
Also, bodes another question. The demon didn't need to kill Nona. They were distracted in their conversation. He could have swiped the necklace and left without anybody being the wiser. Why did he have to attempt to kill her? What purpose did that actually serve?
I'm gonna be honest. I believe that she had more information on how to destroy them, which is why he did that. Because that I think they needed the horns to unlock stuff, or they need to all marry witches. This is what I was gathering. But I believe he figured if he could take her out before she tells that child anything else, knowing that child has those magical powers that are enhanced by the demon blood, that she could really do some damage in terms of the demon realm, because she's not just a witch, she's a witch with demon blood.
Okay, so knowing this now, okay, so clearly Nona has lied to us. We have demon blood. We are shadow witches now. Cam, do you feel like this knowledge has any impact on her sense of self or her choices moving forward now?
It probably will, but we're not gonna find out until the next part of the book.
I'm also curious, who is this demon whispering to her?
If it is Nona and she was the one who dropped her pants or whatever you want to call it, then it could be whoever that person was.
How do we feel about Ancestry and La Prima?
I personally think it's her, because she's where all of this started, and they're descended from her, but there seems to be a heightened sense of need to protect this particular clan from Nona, and it's because she knows some stuff that she ain't sharing.
You saying you believe La Prima was the one who made it with a demon?
Mm-hmm.
I could see that.
And I honestly, go ahead, Kim. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You already started. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if it wasn't grandma who did the dirt, I think it was either grandmother's mother or grandmother's grandmother, and that information was passed down, and that's how that girls were able to get the amulets. That's just my thought.
Oh, so many questions. So many.
What were you getting ready to say, Cam?
No, I yield.
All right. So for this section, I'm going to pick. Shoot, which ones? Okay, y'all already did that one. I'm gonna do trusting the enemy. Amelia and Rad are forced into a reluctant partnership. You think of moments where trust is built or broken between them. Definitely being naked in the bathtub. Um, strangely enough, I feel like was a building of trust. I think her seeing his memories definitely was a building of trust, or at least understanding, if nothing else. And then I feel like the trust is so rocky and readily to be broken because of him omitting whatever information he omits. I mean, naturally she becomes suspicious of him, like, well, maybe you the one that murdered Victoria. Maybe you the one that did all that. You ain't saying who it could be. Anytime I have an idea that it might be Brother Greed or Brother Envy, you always got some convoluted way of saying it ain't them. So maybe it's you. Like, I can see how easy it can be to not trust. But I also feel like since this bathtub nakedness bond, that it's gonna be a little harder to break that. And then maybe there's even something else that we may have missed or hasn't been brought up yet that might just allude to the strength of their new bond, right? And then what would you need to see in Wrath to truly believe he isn't the villain? Child, I don't know. Because he is a demon at his core. So I don't know if I guess it would come down to his persistence in finding the actual murderer. That's what I would need to see to rule him out as an actual villain. But at the end of the day, he is a demon. So he may not be the villain killing the witches, but he is a villain in the grand scheme of good and evil. And what that means for this world, I don't really know just yet. So I don't know. I would have to see more persistence on his part, at least if not revealing more to her about what's what, like what's the curse, what happened with La Prima, who did this, who said this, da, da, da. Like I need more of that for my own as a reader to feel like I could trust this character. And I think maybe Amelia does too. And with that, I yield. Ladies, any final thoughts on these chapters, these impressions, these summaries, any questions, anything at all before we close out for the week? No? Oh, Mom, go ahead. Sorry, let me see.
I like what you said in terms of wanting that additional information, because I was thinking the same thing. Because up until well, I'm gonna say even after the water scene, I was to me, Wrath was suspecting killing the witches. And even though he told her he was testing her blood to see if any demon she was connected to a demon, that could not be true. But he's the only one who knew the identity of the next witch in line to be approached to get married, and she ended up dying too. So, but also at this point, Antonio is suspect to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the whole scene with him getting emotional and all that other stuff, I don't know, there was something in there I just didn't sit right with me. So he was suspect to me as well.
Are we all on the same page with Brother Antonio? Cam, how you feeling about him?
I don't really know. He's not around enough.
Glenna.
enough for me to feel like but it's usually the ones that ain't around that be the most suspect. 'Cause in another one of her books, we thought somebody was fully dead and they ended up being the culprit. So,
Oh hell. So it's possible then. Yeah. Miss Carrie, what you doing to us, baby? What you doing? Glenna, how you feeling about Antonio?
I'm still suspect. I don't necessarily think he's the one outright killing the witches, because that's a lot of time he'd have to account for in a monastery that tends to keep track of everybody's minute of every day. But I think there's something suspect going on with him. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's directly related or if it's indirectly related or anything, but there's something fishy about him, and I just haven't quite put my finger on it yet.
Okay, question for the group. We know what Nona told us about the curse, but we know Nona be lying. So what do y'all think the curse was?
At this point, it might be the fact that their line contains demon blood.
I mean, the original curse that La Prima did to restrain the devil to hell. Like,
Oh,
what do we think actually
did it.
happened? Hmm.
I don't think she did it. I think it was a story to placate the rest of the family.
Hmm.
okay.
I think somewhere in there, I know it's a love-hate thing going on, but I feel like maybe the witch that got with the demon, they cut them horns off. I don't think he was the one that cut the horns off. I'm in agreement with Cam, is that there's a story that's placated, but somehow his horns got cut off because it was like a Samson thing, a Samson and Delilah situation.
Okay.
And when they cut his horns, they took his power, and in order for him to get it back, he had to be connected with the witch that had possession of that amulet.
Huh.
He had to be bound, because marriage is a binding it's a binding contract. So he had to be bound to the one that had possessed his horn. He had to be bound by contract. It's my thought. And I really feel like because he went outside of his realm and had a baby with a witch, or maybe he was in a relationship with a witch and then cheated on her. Who knows? But at any rate, because them horns got snipped, and to keep them from him, they turned it into an amulet. And he probably wasn't aware it was 2 amulets. She made 2 instead of 1. But the curse that they put on him said you won't ever have your power back unless you are married to a witch that wears this amulet. And for me, that had them thinking it was one person with an amulet. So when you up and got these 2 twins, and they hooked in Victoria thinking they could get it, and then end up killing her. Somebody killed her before it happened, or before she completely married somebody or married the wrong demon. I think they didn't realize until baby girl went down there. They called her name, and he looked at her and saw, oh God, she's just like Victoria, and she got an amulet too. So that's my thought.
Cam, I see your hand raised. What's that?
That is a plausible storyline. If that is the storyline, it's likely because he cut off his own horns. So he possibly did them and gave them to whichever witch as a gift, and it was a single amulet. That witch could have been La Prima. And in order for him to not get his power back, it's likely she could have torn them apart and made 2 separate amulets to where one couldn't work without the other.
I like both theories, honestly. I'm even more curious now. What the hell did he do to La Prima to make her curse him in the first place?
And that's the thing, because it could have been they really did love each other, and it was like a love offering or a peace offering or whatever. And because he made her so angry, she tore them apart as vengeance for whatever he did to her.
Oh Lord, my mom's got a revelation. Please come forth. Go ahead.
You know how Aunt Cammy just said that because he truly loved her, he gave him to her as a love offering, and that it sent me right back to Wrath and her, and that. So if he sacrificed for La Prima because he loved her, and maybe because they are from two different worlds, and he had to show her that he would never harm her, and he gave her that as the love offering, could be the reason is if Wrath is truly starting to feel something for Amelia, that he took the oath of not only just protect, well, he was already bound to protect her, but to not harm anyone while she was on this quest. You see what I'm saying? And that's where my head just flashed. I'm sorry, but I'm thinking, because he had some strong feelings for La Prima, and like Cammy was saying, that was his love offering. It could have been not just a love offering, but an offering to show that he would not ever harm her because of his love and affection for her. And something had happened down the line, like she said, where she may have separated the amulet into two, so that he would never be able to, because of her anger, he would never be able to get that power back, because he's thinking it's only one amulet when it's actually two.
I'm liking all of these predictions. Yes, Glenn. What's on your mind?
Slightly different take. I agree with Cam that I think it might have been a love offering, but I think we're making the assumption that he did the thing that was wrong. And what if he gave these as a symbol of love to her? Based on Nona's withholding of information, makes me suspect that what happened was was shameful in some capacity. So what if she's the one that betrayed him by the moment he gave the symbol of love, she destroyed it into two so that he couldn't get it back?
Oh.
Just another possibility. I mean, we don't know, so these are just conjecture at this point.
Yeah, we're all
But
she was playing footsie with another demon. What you think?
Okay.
Love the facial expressions. But I think it's, I don't know, I'm getting mutually assured destruction here is kind of the vibe this gives off. And I don't think it was, I don't think until they literally lay it out for us, we're going to know what happened back with La Prima. And we're making an assumption that that's where this all started. But I think it's a viable thought. But the motivations will be interesting to learn going forward.
Agreed. Okay, so I have another question. When the bathtub warming her up ritual happened, they weren't alone. Someone else was there. Who the hell was it? And are we going to find out more about them, do you think?
I think that each demon has, for lack of a better term, acolytes in this world.
Okay.
Just as the witches work amongst themselves, the demons are in hell unless they're summoned. So they have to have some footing. They wouldn't be able to, let's say, take Greed, for instance. He wouldn't be able to put a gambling den in a different spot every few nights. if he didn't have groundwork already in place.
Okay.
Because that's a large enterprise to kind of just snap into existence. So there has to be some field work or acolytes of some kind that are doing that. And my guess is that he took, because she doesn't really state where she was taken, just that she was taken to a room that had a pool in it of some kind that was already heated. Knowing the area, my guess it was a natural hot spring that was, encapsulated, because the Romans did that a lot. And that maybe that was encapsulated in like a altar is the wrong word. Shrine of some kind that is specific to him, and that is a safe place for him on that world, in our world, because I can use words. And that the people who were standing guard, because you're not just going to naturally snap your fingers at some random person on the street that says, I've got to do this, I need you to watch the door. It's going to be somebody you trust. So he has to have some footing on the earth, and I think all of the princes, including Pride, have footing on this plane at some point, and that they always have a place to go.
I like that. I like that theory. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't initially think though that the feared princes of hell would need any sort of assistance, but you're right. They're not in their own realm. So it makes sense that they would have to have some sort of assistance or acolytes, like you said. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anybody else? Any other theories, questions, predictions? No? All right. Well, ladies, we will be back week 3 to cover chapters 25 through 36. I'll catch y'all next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
It's the family plot. Come and see what we got. If you like mystery and fantasy, then this is the spot. It's the family plot. Come and see what we got. Follow on Instagram and YouTube and even TikTok.